welcome to Sailing Frida of Visby. In the previous episode we did some excursions in the near neighborhood of Lagos. In this episode we rent a car and we will go further away to experience the fantastic landscape here of the Algarve coast. And my brother Bertil will also arrive and we squeeze in a little bit of boat projects. And I forgot to say that we talk about how it is to sail with a cat. Welcome to Sailing Frida of Visby. We are a middle-aged couple that has left our hectic working life for a life where plans are written in the sand. We have sailed from the chilly Sweden in the Nordic countries along the Atlantic coast of Europe to the Mediterranean Sea. We sail to enjoy the pleasure of the sea, see amazing places, eat good and meet new people. Sometimes we do maintenance and projects and we want to share our sailing life with you. This is Frida of Visby, our Key 47 Pilot Saloon.
My name is Anders.
I am Gitte, and this is Litsa, the truly free spirit on board. How is it to have a cat on board? We do get some questions how it is to have a cat on board, and it's pretty much as having a cat on land. She is busy doing her things, mostly making herself look cute. Oh, the birdies. And Litsa. She likes to sit and watch for fish and birds, or just laying under the spray hood. That's probably her favorite place to lay and sleep. So put some rope around a pole near the galley so that she can climb.
Duktig Litsa!
For security, she has a man overboard.
So this is the man overboard unit, and here on the house is a tile, the things you have to find your keys and etc. This has an app where I can make this play a music tune, which is very good when I can't find her on board, because my worst nightmare is that we have to sail and I can't find her. The harness sits like this, so she has this rod around her neck and this under her belly, and this goes up around and locks on the back, so that if she falls overboard we can take a hook and try to catch this part and lift her. We can actually lift her out of the water in this. And this little thing actually contains a small note with the boat name and my phone number.
And of course we have a life jacket for her.
She also has a microchip in her neck, so any vet or most police stations, at least in Sweden, can actually check it and see who is her owner, and they also have contacts through the Swedish Cat Register Association, Sverak. But the thing that really makes this possible is actually this. It's a pet passport for the European Union. So here it says it's Swedish, and as you see it looks very much as an ordinary passport. Yeah, you can see her vaccinations, because it's very important that she got the correct vaccination, especially for rabies. That's what we need
to travel around with a pet within the European Union. And well, to feed her we have a litter box in the forward head, and well, apart from that everything is just as normal. Playtime at the Science Museum in Lagos.
I just got a lesson in how to use the sextant. There's a little dot on the wall. So we are at the Science Museum here in Lagos. Not many people here. You managed! Can you do the other one?
Let's see.
Litsa would have loved this one.
Oh,
Woo! It shines. Yeah. See if I communicated correctly. And I did. It says, hey. inside the ladder before it hits the yellow. So it's kind of like a game.
Kitty is building a radio.
Let's see if it works.
Let's listen, see if she makes
If it's right, there will be some music. We have just been at the Science Museum, and I think it's a very good suggestion to have a coffee or a beer after all those lessons in physics and all kind of stuff. But it was fun. It's a playground for adults and children. Mostly children, yeah. So, now we spent about an hour in playing around a little bit.
Been outside of the boat.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was nice.
And I think if you got kids, it's a great place to go. We treated ourselves with some coffee and cake. Work isn't over yet, and the planning for the solar arch continues.
That would work. But eating would work. Yeah. Yeah.
We rented a car for a month. We can really recommend this car rental. It's close to the marina, a reasonable price and friendly staff, and no fuss when you leave the car. Time to go! We decided to go to the marina in Portimao as our first trip with the new car. Of Portimao. The next day we were supposed to go to IKEA in Faro, but we made a short stop in Vilamora. More or less a gigantic tourist resort. On our way home, we just had to stop and buy some oranges. They're probably grown right here. So now we got everything on board. We have been at IKEA in Faro. Now both us and Lagos is doing the Christmas preparations. And the old town in Lagos is even cozier with all those lights. And I even decided to knit some Christmas decorations myself. I bought some Swedish Christmas food, some storage boxes that I'm going to have next to my bed to get it a bit more organized, and some other stuff. You always get some other stuff at IKEA, and to get some of the Swedish special Christmas specialities. And as always, when we are there, we also bought some salt licorice, coffee, and some Swedish caviar. So now we are almost ready for the Christmas celebrations. Whoops, I think that boat is the most Christmas decorated boat in the harbor, but I like ours as well. But according to Anders, Christmas came early because here's our new Wi-Fi antenna. Christmas came early. Okay. A apart from a laser sword, what could this be?
Antenna.
Yeah, so that we can reach the internet of the marinas, because quite often the marinas has very bad Wi-Fi, and if you're not right up to the office pontoon, you often don't get any Wi-Fi at all, despite they have it for free. And this is taking off the old, very small antenna we had. That on top of being small, we broke it. So the Wi-Fi connection has not been very good. And now Anders has bought a really, really long antenna. So we hope that the problem of not reaching the marina office Wi-Fi is long gone. My brother Bertil doesn't like to fly, and it didn't get better that one of his 2 flights got cancelled. Out driving in the dark to go for a long trip, because we are going to Lisbon, to the airport, and pick up my brother, because TAP Air has changed his flight, so there was no flight to Faro, so he got stuck in Lisbon. Lisbon. We are going to the airport to pick up my brother.
Wow.
After picking Bertil up at the airport, we drove back to Lagos and went straight to bed. Bertil and Anders is fixing a special block for our code 0. Okay, Anders, can you explain what are you two up to next time?
This is our code 0, which we got with the boat. This is the furler. It has a continuous furling line, and the idea is that you're going to furl in and furl out from the back of the boat. The problem was that I had nowhere to tighten those 2 up, so I wasn't certain. I had no way of doing it so that I felt safe of having it up all the time and still being locked in, because if this is not tightened, then this can furl itself up, and then you will get code 0 when you don't want one. So I wanted to make sure that we could lock them off. Also, there are 2 lines going like from the back of the boat to the front of the boat. And if they're not tightened, they could of course get tangled up on everything, and it's no fun. So I bought what Bertil has is in his right hand from Selden, which is this thing where you can
Special block
where you can get the furling line around, and you can lock them both up, and then with that you can decide from the back of the boat which one to open up if you want to furl out or furl in, and so on and so forth. Pretty easy. It's also, the thing with this is that you really want this, because when we don't use it, it's going into the bag. So it needs to be easy to hook it on and hook it off. So this you hook on at the front of the boat, which is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
By doing this, and then it's on. This line you get your sheet in, and beneath all here you have the thing you put into your spinnaker hole. So that's easy. Then this, I'm going to connect this close to this up front, so that you don't get tangles in between those. Mm-hmm. So that's that part. It's also so that it's happy to move around, which I don't like. So it needs to be close by so that this can't swerve, because if all this moves around 1 or 2 steps, then you can't furl in and furl out or do anything.
Okay.
And that Bertil goes on to, it's also the same thing, pretty easy to connect to. So I'm going to make a line back in the back of the boat, ready all the time to connect that to, and then you have that fixed where you want it out on deck in the back of the boat. And then when you have set it all up, you only tighten up the 2 lines and then you're ready. And then everything is easy to use from the port side back behind the steering wheel.
So that we might use our code
That's
a
no-
little bit more frequently.
That's no promise, but it's easier anyway than it was in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we're going to use it.
Okay. Then we made a little trip to our neighboring ports.
Ändra sig väder så de ligger där och sparar pengar så länge man kan.
Det var inte roligt att gå ut. Nej, det är ju det att normalt sett hela resten av året förutom vintern så kommer vi in.
They talk about that Portimao is an excellent anchorage inside the outer wave breakers. We took Bertil for a ride to have a look at the surroundings of Algarve coast. And for some reason, when Anders planned our trip, we always end up in other ports or marinas. So this is Portimao, the next harbor on the coast. And we will continue to Albufeira as well. Albufeira.
Väldigt nöjd.
After having coffee and delicious pancakes and watching this beautiful sunset, it was time to go. I planned our next trip and we are making a round trip of Western Algarve. We start in Sagres, the most southern tip. Quite big waves!
Ja, de är här ute och surfar. Vi försöker surfa.
But we are not quite on the tip. The fort is a little bit in. Then we went to Cabo da São Vicente, and I remember how we felt proud when we rounded this corner. Rumbles almost like thunder. Are at San Vicente at the lighthouse. So this is the most southwesterly lighthouse in Portugal and they are by Europe. So this is the end of Europe, and if you continue in this direction you end up somewhere in South America. Very flat and harsh landscape. Sorry that you can't hear my brother Bertil here, but he's talking about how fascinating it is when the waves hit the steep cliffs. It creates water vapor that drifts over land, so it feels almost like fog.
Nej.
But when we stand here, we can clearly see that Sagres, the second point over there, is further south than this point. So okay, we will continue. We are going to Bodeira. It's a beach on the west coast where I think the wave will be quite big. Now we have arrived in beautiful Bodeira. This is the whole area, not just the beach. Once again, I have to apologize for bad sound because I had a dead cat, but it was so windy that it wasn't enough. The beauty of this area is stunning, but it was so windy that we couldn't sit anywhere.
There's Anders. Hello. You don't want to go surfing?
I saw surfers over there, but they were really close to the shore.
Sydamerika. A bit too windy, so we are continuing to see if we can find a spot with a little less wind to sit and eat our picnic. It's labeled as bicycle track, but our GPS
Says it's okay.
says it's okay, so see if we need to turn around. But it sure is beautiful, and you get a fantastic view of the landscape.
Yeah, we could have chosen to go back to Lagos, but instead we drove to Monchi.
Mountain range. We are on our way to Foya. We just stopped to put a little bit more fuel into the car. Foya.
Just over där. Vad är det? Upp igenom här?
Ja, du ska nog gå runt och ner här. Det är enkelriktat, vet du. Frågan är om du ska ta vägen här. Jag vill ha upp det där.
Portugal kommer man också ha det är långt vid kusten, men det kanske...
Monchique is not the highest village in Portugal, but it's the highest village in Algarve, where it sits on 485 meters above sea level. It was a fantastic drive along winding roads up to the top of Foya.
We're now at
810 meters and we are up in the clouds. So we don't see much. And due to the wind, you don't hear much. But what I say is that we are at 902 meters and it's windy and very nasty up here. We are back.
A couple of days later,
And
we
this
decided to make a
time,
new trip up to
There is
Foya.
no clouds, and no fog, and no rain, and no wind. So now we can see that we are at 902 meters and the view is fantastic. You can see all the way to the sea.
I decided to climb the last little bit all the way up to the top, and the boys, they decided to stay by the car. Maybe they wanted to look at the motorbikes.
Made it. Bit difficult, but worth the climb. The view is great, except it's still a little bit of water vapor in the air. But today you can see all out over the mountains and you can see the sea and everything. There's Bertil and Anders next to all the motorbikes. I'm standing on the top of the mountain in Montjuic, Foya.
And with this stunning view, I'll wrap this episode up. Stay tuned to hear what's coming in the next episode. I hope you liked this episode. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit the little bell button to get notifications. And if you don't subscribe, do that down below. In the next episode, we will continue with our travels and see more of Agave. We will also celebrate New Year and probably go to Sweden. But when we are back after that, there will be boat projects and boat projects again. Because, as you see, we are in the yard now. Thank you so much for watching Sail i Frida och Visby.